Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and we have a lot to talk about today with iOS 27 features, more things we can expect, iPhone 18, iPhone Ultra, and much more. This is your Apple News Update for May 6th, 2026. Apple Intelligence was promised to deliver quite a few more features than it has today, with Siri features we're still waiting for. Since Apple introduced Apple Intelligence, they had a large advertising campaign going over features we still don't have. Apple will now pay $250 million to settle a class action lawsuit against it for false advertising and unfair competition. In the USA, if you have an iPhone 15 Pro, 15 Pro Max, or any iPhone 16 model, you can submit a claim in the USA for $25 or more, depending on how many people place a claim. So we'll have to wait and see how much they pay out, but if you have an iPhone 16 in the USA, I'll leave a link in the description below so you can check out the story and maybe file a claim if you'd like to. The base version of the Mac Mini sold out some time ago and is no longer available from Apple. Apple has cut more options for the Mac Mini and Mac Studio now due to the demand and the memory shortage, making it more difficult to offer those different options. So it looks like we're going to be backed up for quite some time on the Mac Mini, and we probably won't see an M5 refresh anytime soon. Apple Vision Pro was recently used in cataract surgery for the first time. A New York ophthalmologist performed the surgery using custom software called Scope XR. It overlays diagnostic data over the operative field, and it was done successfully. So that's a great application for the Vision Pro. However, Mac Rumors recently said that Apple has given up on the Vision Pro and the Lite version for now as well, just like Mark Gurman has said. However, many people were saying that Apple definitely hasn't given up on it, and they're actually hiring more people for the Vision team. This could be for future development of glasses or some other product, but at this time I wouldn't imagine the operating system would go to waste or anything like that, but in its current form factor that costs $3,500 up to $4,000, we may not see it in the public that often, or for sale maybe for that much longer. However, it's hard to say what they're actually going to do, whether they've truly abandoned it, but let me know what you think about that story in the comments below. Apple is also continuing to look into diversifying more of its production, and this time Apple is looking to Samsung or Intel to help with chip production outside of TSMC and instead manufacturing them in the USA. While nothing is concrete yet, Samsung and Intel certainly would be able to produce Apple Silicon once they get everything set up, so this is something we could see in the near future. Now, if you're a T-Mobile customer and you have access to Starlink satellite connectivity, you'll now have access when traveling to Canada or New Zealand when needed. So this was posted on T-Mobile's website, and this allows you to get connectivity even if you don't have it via cell signal. So it's great to have just if maybe you're out and about and something you need connectivity with. So you can see all of the details on T-Mobile's website, and I'll link that in the description below. When it comes to apps this week, well, there's one worth mentioning, and that's Instagram. It's ending end-to-end encryption on Friday, May 8th. They posted it on their website here, talking about what end-to-end encryption is, and that they're ending it, and it's something you had to enable before, but now it will no longer be supported after May 8th. So that's a bit unfortunate, but it is something that's going away. So if you were using that, it just won't be encrypted anymore. As far as weekly Apple deals this week, well, the iPhone Air MagSafe battery pack is now down to $59.99. Of course, I'll link it in the description below. It works on the iPhone Air, but not great on the other devices. So that's something that, unfortunately, you can't use at least directly connected. You can use it sideways, but it doesn't work the exact same way. And I'm surprised they didn't allow it here. So you'll see you can connect it sideways, and it will charge your phone, but it doesn't work on the back directly or stay put. So unfortunately, they didn't allow that. The M4 iPad Air has some deals. AirPods Pro 3, of course, are on perpetual discount. MacBook Air M5 has some deals as well. And again, I'll link all of those in the description below. When it comes to releases this week, there's a new AirPods Max 2 firmware update. And if we go to Apple's firmware website for AirPods, you'll see the version is 8E258. We don't really know what's in it. If we scroll down here, you'll see that it just says bug fixes and other improvements. So with their AirPods updates, they don't really tell us what's new, but hopefully it fixes some connectivity issues that I know some people were having. As far as other releases, well, we could expect iOS 26.5 RC2 or version 2 later this week. It could be later today by the time you're watching this video, or later this week. However, if there's no additional issues, we could still get a new build number once it releases to the public. We do expect it to release sometime around the 11th, so May 11th or 12th, and that's typically what we'll see with the public release. Then we'll see iOS 26.6 Beta 1, and then in just a few weeks at that point, we'll see iOS 27 Beta 1 on June 8th. So that's just about a month away at this point, not too far away, and we'll see beta 1 there along with iOS 26.6 or 26.7 betas later on, all throughout the summer, with a public release sometime in September around the iPhone 18 launch. With iOS 27, of course, we expect it to bring stability and more features, but recently a report from Mark Gurman at Bloomberg has said that you'll be able to use Claude or Gemini instead of ChatGPT in the extension settings. You can currently see this here, and of course we do expect some changes here, but if we go into our extensions under Apple Intelligence, of course we currently have the option for ChatGPT, but we'll be able to use others here as well. However, this is not just for this specific extension, but also within the OS for writing tools or image playground. So you could choose those as defaults now using ChatGPT or Gemini and possibly some others. Also, according to Mark Gurman, Apple is really pushing iOS as the AI platform of choice for other companies' services as well. So I expect we'll see even greater integration directly with Gemini, maybe ChatGPT and others, if they give you the option. iOS 27 will also let you create custom wallet passes, according to Mark Gurman. You could open your camera, maybe use Apple Intelligence or Visual Intelligence to scan something such as a gym membership, concert pass, or other things that don't already have a digital pass, and then you could place them directly into the wallet. That's something we could see with iOS 27. Of course, with iOS 27, we expect some other features as well, and the first features are typically shown off for Accessibility Awareness Day. So we could see that as soon as next week, sometime around the 16th or so. So we could see those features, and those will typically be the first features we're aware of for iOS 27 that are official from Apple. So we can expect those, and hopefully a few surprises here and there once they announce them at WWDC. With iPhone 18, it's now rumored to get 12 gigabytes of RAM instead of sticking with 8 gigabytes for the next generation. So with iPhone 18, the base model could bump up to 12 gigabytes despite the memory shortage, and also the iPhone 18 model could also get a slight downgrade according to Fixed Focus Digital. For 2027, iPhone 18 may offer a lower quality display. Hopefully that's not the case, but it may be lower quality than the Pro and Pro Max models that are set to be shown in September, but it also could have components that are shared with iPhone 18e. This, of course, is just speculation for the time, but some crossover makes sense for manufacturing and cost savings where it's possible. So maybe we'll see some more similarities there. Apple is also said to be still using similar finishes to the aluminum despite some complaints with the iPhone 17 Pro and 17 Pro Max models not wearing as well as previous models. So that doesn't surprise me. We'd still have aluminum with sort of a finish over it with whatever color they select to use. Of course, Apple is also working on camera upgrades according to Digital Chat Station on Weibo, and it's said to have a variable aperture this year. We've heard this from a few different people, so that seems to make sense, and of course a larger sensor for the main camera. This could improve image stabilization and eventually get a 200 megapixel telephoto zoom lens that could come later on. Originally it was rumored to come with the iPhone 18 Pro models, but it seems like it could be the following year. One odd rumor, though, is Apple is also considering removing the MagSafe from future iPhones. It adds thickness, of course, but it also gives us the great feature of charging wirelessly, along with just using a ton of different accessories. Apple could consider removing it and maybe just adding it with a case like they do with the S26 Ultra from Samsung. We've seen that recently. I hope they don't do this as I use it regularly, but maybe we'll see that in future models as well. And speaking of removing MagSafe, the iPhone Fold seems like it could be missing a few features. And just like the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 7, it's said that the iPhone Fold doesn't have MagSafe, and it also doesn't have an action button, at least according to the dummy units from Sonny Dickson. So this is something that they could be getting rid of, but it seems like they're keeping camera control. When it comes to the 20th anniversary iPhone, it's said to be a dramatic change to the way the iPhone looks. The latest information is that it will use a micro-curved OLED panel, and this is according to the supply chain information from China. The display will also be thinner and brighter than current OLED displays on iPhone, which is always great to see a brighter display, and the glass may also be called a liquid glass display. So where we had that with the iPhone 11, a liquid glass display, this would be the actual covering would be liquid glass, where it invisibly goes over the edge and bends unlike normal displays we've seen before. So this would sort of remove or eliminate any bezel. In the most recent leak, Apple has continued to test solid-state haptic buttons to keep the design clean and uninterrupted with the display. This again is according to Instant Digital on Weibo. The buttons will also function when the device is powered off or runs out of battery due to a low-power microprocessor. So this would basically be some buttons in the side that are haptic powered and would allow you to turn on the device even though it would be flush with the device, but you would know they're there. So we'll have to see what this 20th anniversary iPhone is, of course, in a couple years here, but I'm looking forward to it if it's that radical of a design change. When it comes to the next generation iPad, Apple has long been rumored to be working on a very high-end foldable or Ultra version of the iPad. According to Instant Digital on Weibo, Apple has decided not to produce the iPad Ultra as iPad Pro sales are not as good as Apple has hoped. I actually love the iPad Pro, but it certainly is hard to justify such an expensive iPad, especially if you already have a Mac. It's not really something that you need, so having one that's even more expensive or more premium doesn't seem to make sense just yet. However, the one thing I can't wait to see is a new MacBook Ultra. MacBook Ultra is said to be coming toward the end of 2026 or maybe in 2027, depending on delays due to RAM shortages. However, we know it'll have an OLED display, possibly a touchscreen, along with a dynamic island. The chassis design will be all new, and of course we'll have the next generation M6 Pro and M6 Max chipsets. It's also said that it could feature cellular. So this is the MacBook Air. I really love it, and if it's something similar to this, maybe a new design that's even better than the MacBook Pro now, I can't wait to see what they have. Now, to go along with the iPhone Ultra and MacBook Ultra, or maybe it'll be called MacBook Studio, we just don't know at this point, we also expect some higher-end AirPods. They could also get the Ultra name as well, or possibly Studio name, but they're rumored to have cameras in them for use with Siri to better help understand your surroundings. So what this would be used for is hard to say at this point, but once the new Siri is released, then maybe we'll understand a little bit better. Of course, Apple is also working on smart glasses, but a recent leak from Mac Rumors says the new glasses will also support hand gestures. Since the glasses will have some cameras, you'd be able to process hand gestures, but Mark Gurman has said that he hasn't heard anything to suggest this, at least in the first version. So we'll have to wait and see what Apple does here, and of course we may not see those for a couple years at this point. And so that's everything this week, at least so far, with iOS 27, some upcoming iPhones, and more. I'm looking forward to iOS 27, especially if it has stability like many of you are. And then, of course, I can't wait to see the 20th anniversary iPhone, maybe Apple's home devices that I didn't mention, maybe something else that we don't expect. Hopefully we'll get a few surprises, especially with John Turnus in charge later this year. Let me know what you're looking most forward to in the comments below, and of course I'll link this wallpaper in the description like I normally do. If you haven't subscribed already though, please subscribe, and if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.